With the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Casey, would you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Thank you. You're welcome. John Guglielmo.
Here.
Tim Clark.
Here.
Audra All. I'm here. Sarah Bashinsky. Here. Chris Boucher.
Here.
And Ken Chester.
Here.
And acceptance of the agenda. Need a motion to accept the agenda for tonight's meeting. Audra and Ken. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Recognition of successes. Excuse me. Do you have any certificates or anything?
We do, yep, and we have Mr. Smith here to talk about, we could just fill the board in on what the program
Yeah,
was.
so, of course, the music department kind of always gets the ground running right out of the gate, and in last June, we did the recommendations, and then last Friday in September, we did the actual festival for the Cast and Honors Festival. which is basically, we've been doing it for a pretty long time, where we go up to Castleton's Vermont State University campus, do like about 8 hours of rehearsals. Our band kids get to go and work with Joshua Thompson, who is the director of arts recruitment, as well as the band director at Castleton University. And the choral kids, we had 2 this year, got to work with Dr. Cheryl Blodgett, I think it's pronounced. She is the choral director at Castleton University. So they got some real experience with collegiate professors, got some experience navigating and working on a college campus. And they also had an opportunity, if they were interested in fine arts, music, theater, anything related to what we were doing, they were able to ask questions to those people and get some pretty good feedback and recruitment information as well. As far as teachers are concerned, I mean, we all get to hang around our favorite people all day, but we also got to do a round table with the music ed students that were there. Got to ask us some great questions. We hopefully didn't scare any of them away. It was overall a really good day. I think one of the students is there. Hi, Trey. So we had 5 kids for band this year and 2 kids for chorus. This is our first year bringing chorus. It's tough because it's so right at the start of the year and everybody is scrambling to get together. But I think in all the years that I've done it, both as a student and as a teacher, it's been a really phenomenal opportunity.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Trey, you're the only one. Come on up and get a certificate. We'll give you a round of applause. Well done. Good work. There's your certificate. See you for the rest of it.
Awesome. I'm sure you guys
Involved, and please.
Before we move on, I just want to say Trey is one of my guys. All right? He's part of one of the nicest groups of kids in the 9th grade. And when I mean groups, I mean a big group of kids in the 9th grade that I haven't seen come through the school in decades. Those are nice kids that take school seriously. They participate in athletics. And they don't get into any kind of trouble. They're just good kids that get around, and they're nice to the other kids. And it's good to see him get an award. Just like, I really, really like this kid. He's a good boy.
All right. Way to go,
So Alexis was supposed to be coming, and that's why I was here, is to see her get her certificate.
Oh,
But she's in practice, and I'm like, hello, you're missing it. Please come to the boardroom.
Let's
So I
clap.
think they must have lost track of time.
Okay.
We'll clap for her anyway.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You stay, we're leaving.
Ray, you're not sticking around?
See you, Jackson.
You're lucky he came.
We would have hunted him.
Good job, Trey.
All right. Well, absolutely.
It's late for
So,
basketball.
to mention the other ones that did not get a chance to make it, in band, we had Ollie Cutler, Gabrielle Durkee, Olivia Madison, and Addison Perkins. And the 2 choral members were Stella Mullen and Alexis Rivers, whose mom just accepted her certificate. So, well done. If you're watching, kids, thanks a lot for representing Fort Edward. Thanks.
I think they're all at practice right now.
Well, as they should be. Do we have any community comments?
I currently do not.
Do not? Okay, so we're going to move right into our audit presentation. Mr. Joseph Haru, is that correct?
Yes.
And he's from the Bonadio Group.
I'm filling in for Alan tonight. I'm a principal at Bonadio Group. Alan had, I think it was 6 meetings tonight, so I didn't work on your audit. I apologize. I do plenty of school districts, so if you have a general question, I can try to answer it, but if it's something detailed, I can have Alan reach out to you. I'll cover the scope of our services. We did an audit of the financial statements in accordance with government auditing standards. There's an audit of the extra classroom activity fund, which you have, right? I think you all have those. The single audit we're still working on, that's not technically due until March 31st. I'm sure we're not gonna let it hang out that long. I looked at the file today, I saw they're working on it, so that should be coming. And then there's a required communication letter that you have that I'll just cover very quickly. So in summary, we're going to anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with GAAP. That's the highest level of assurance we can give. On the extra classroom activity funds, same thing, an unmodified opinion there. When you're looking at those financial statements, you'll see their cash basis. So a little different, but unmodified opinion also. No material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting. That's at the back of the thick report. It's internal controls and compliance. There's one instance of non-compliance. I'll touch base on that later. And then I'm sure Alan will want me to thank the business office and everybody that helped get the audit complete. I'll just hit some financial highlights. Basically, you have two sets of financial statements, full GAAP, if you will, which you're probably not familiar with except for the audit, and then government GAAP, I'll call it, fund accounting, which you guys talk about, I'm sure, constantly, the general fund budget. I'll start with the full GAAP, the statement of net position. Everybody looks at that front page and they go right down to that net deficit of 3.2 million. Well, you've got a $16.7 million OPEB liability that you can't fund, you can't put assets, can't put any cash away. So take that out, you don't have a net deficit. There's some other liabilities in there, there's capital assets too, but basically it's what's causing it is your OPEB liability. The statement of activities, which is your income statement, full GAAP, your net position increased $1.7 million. There's a reconciliation on page 21 of how we get from the fund financial statements down to the government-wide. And then for the fund financial statements that you're more familiar with, and everybody's always concerned about the general fund, you've got a healthy fund balance, 6.3 million total. Your unassigned is 2.2, and that's where the compliance issue comes in. That's greater than 4% of the 24-25 expenditure budget. That calculation's on page 58. That's New York State law. Ideally, they like you to be 4%. I don't know how they come up with 4%. It was 2% many years ago, and they increased it to 4%. So I don't know where it comes from, but that's what they would like you to have. So I'm sure you'll get a letter. You'll have to respond to it and say, well, here's our plan.
We always do.
Yeah, you get a slap on the wrist. And I've seen districts with healthy fund balance like that, and then all of a sudden, special ed, one or two special ed kids, something like that happens, and that fund balance is gone. Capital projects fund, you have minimal fund balance. You did an interfund transfer, basically get it to $100,000. And then there's non-major funds. Debt service had no activity. Miscellaneous special revenue, which is scholarships and extra classroom, and then school lunch had a little bit of your fund balance decreased $45,000 this year. Not unusual, most school districts have that. You guys didn't transfer any fund in because you had fund balance. So just something to keep your eye on, the school lunch fund. And then just quickly, looking at your general fund budget, you had favorable revenue variance of $592,000, a favorable expenditure variance of 1.2, favorable other financing sources variance of $87,000. I think they need to change that. In the report, it looks like it's unfavorable, but I think it's favorable. The math works at the bottom. Overall, a favorable budget variance of 1.9, but I think it's backwards on those formulas. And then, as I said, the government auditing standards report, the yellow book, no material weaknesses, the non-compliance, the unappropriated fund balance, that's in there. And then extra classroom activities. I think there's a management letter we issued. Some issues that we had there was lack of documentation, 10 receipts, 2 disbursements, and then 7 receipts where the receipts were not deposited timely. Not unusual. We see these type of things at all of our districts because they're students, they're teachers, they're not accountants, and they do the best they can. And then there's required communication letter. Basically, if we had issues with management, any kind of disagreements, talks about your estimates, your major disclosures, and then there's a listing of audit adjustments that is attached to that, which is, for the most part, it's GASB 87, the lease adjustments that we make. You guys signed on, I think, with Tim Doyle's group. So we take his report, basically make the entries, but we still report them in that listing. And then something to think about for next year, GASB 101, compensated absences. I'm not totally up to speed yet because it didn't apply, so it's gonna move some of that, I think, into current liabilities. That's about it. I mean, I don't think it's gonna have a drastic effect on any of our clients, but something we have to implement next year. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Chris, you just gave yourself a clap. Good job.
Thank you.
Solid. I know, I was
Good
kidding.
shot, Chris.
He presented.
I was kidding.
We talked about
Thank
this
you.
earlier.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move to. My computer. There we go. Superintendent search with Dr. Tarina Parker and Kelly.
Hello, hello. Feels like old times.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us back. Happy to be here and excited to talk about your full superintendent search. So our intention this evening is to talk to you a little bit about the full search process and some of the decisions that your board will have to make should you wish to move forward with the BOCES and move forward with me as your search consultant, and the options available to you should you wish to move in another direction as well. So we'll take you through some of the options available to you. So we'll start with the types of search that your board has available to you to consider. One of those is to utilize either myself as the district superintendent as your search consultant, or to utilize an outside search consultant. So I want to take you through those options because that's one of the first decisions that you'll need to make. If you utilize me as a search consultant, I come for the very expensive price of free. So there's no cost for my service as a search consultant. That really is one of the primary benefits of utilizing me as a search consultant, in addition to the fact that, of course, my expertise is the knowledge of our region and being able to help facilitate that process. However, you also have the ability and the option of utilizing a search consultant. Some districts will choose to utilize an outside search consultant. One of the differences with a search consultant is how we manage the process. What I will do as the district superintendent in managing the process is I'll do lots of advertising for the position. So I'll take you through a little later on what some of those options are, how I advertise, how I go through utilizing the different networks throughout the state, utilizing the district superintendent network, utilizing SANES, utilizing lots of different networks to get the advertisement out there and get the position known and out there. What a search consultant will sometimes do is headhunting, where they'll actually go out and secure individuals from who are currently in other positions. I won't do headhunting. I'll do advertising as opposed to headhunting. So that's some of the primary differences. One of the first decisions that you'll have to make, utilizing me as a search consultant or utilizing an actual search consultant, and the fees for that vary. You'll also have to make a determination on the type of search that you're looking to do. And so I'll take you through some of those options. One of those is whether you're looking to do an internal search. So some districts will determine, we think we have internal candidates who may be looking to apply, and so we're actually going to do a search, but we're only going to post internally. So we'll go through a full search, but we'll only post it internally, not open it to any external candidates. Another option that you have is to do a confidential search. That's not an option that's typically been used in our region, but it is an option available to you. One of the benefits of a confidential search is that because it's not public knowledge, the process happens only with the board. You'll generally have a higher chance of getting individuals who are sitting superintendents applying for the position because it's a confidential search. But with a confidential search, you actually don't have community involvement. You don't have individuals from the community participating in interviews. It's only the board interacting with the individuals because it's highly confidential. And then you have available to you a traditional search. Traditional search, you post the position, you take applicants. Of course, the information is confidential on who's applied until you get to the point that you actually have them interacting with individuals who are on an interview committee. And that way, those individuals sign a non-disclosure agreement, a confidentiality agreement. It stays confidential within the committee, but those individuals who are on the committee know who's applied for the position. So in that way, it's not considered a confidential search, it's considered a traditional search because some people will know who's applied for the position. So those are some of the immediate decisions that you'll have to make. What type of search you're doing, who you're appointing as a search consultant. Should you decide to appoint me as a search consultant, I would ask that you consider doing that at your next board meeting so that we can move forward with the process as quickly as possible. Because as you'll hear from this point forward, we'll be on a really tight timeline in order to get you to a July 1 start date for your new superintendent. So next we'll talk about the timeline and how we anticipate getting you to that July 1 start date, if in fact that's what the board is still moving toward. So in your packet, you have a draft timeline that we've put together for you. And so you'll notice if you look at item number 3, that we will propose the release of an online survey right around November 4th, should the board wish to move in that direction. And that's something that we normally do, is we would normally put out a survey to the community, both online and in print. We put out a survey where we ask for feedback on characteristics and skills that the community would like for the next superintendent. And that's intended so that the board can gauge from the community what the interest is in the different characteristics and skills that both the school community and those within the larger community would like, and in determining what types of characteristics would be most palatable to the community, what they're most interested in having. So that helps us put together the brochure materials for the new superintendent. So we'd be looking to do that in early November and to close that survey right around November 22nd. We would also look to plan in November a community forum for that same purpose, to get feedback from the community should you wish to have a community forum. Not everyone has a community forum for that purpose. Generally, we get lots of information from the survey, but some boards choose to have a community forum for that purpose. The next thing that we would do is we would develop a final candidate profile. That's part of our materials that we'd be developing. In addition to our application, and you have sample applications. As you know, we developed materials. The last search that we did for this board was back in 2022. So it hasn't been very long since we went through this process, so we're actually not starting from scratch. So we actually have tons of materials from the last time we went through this process with your board. We'd be developing a candidate profile, developing your application, developing those skills and characteristics that you would desire and that your community has given you feedback on for your new superintendent. We would also be looking to start advertising by the middle of December. In the back of your packet, you have some of the costs associated with advertising. Generally, we recommend advertising NYSSBA, SANES, NSCIS, on board, and we have some deadlines associated with that. And we generally get really good response rates from those local kinds of venues. In addition to the networks, we send it out to all school districts across the state, my DS network as well. We anticipate having a deadline for the receipt of applications by the end of January. And then I would conduct initial background checks, verifying credentials for anyone who's applied, initial screening of applications. You'll notice that this document here, you have some things highlighted in yellow. The dates and us finalizing those dates would be really important. Anything highlighted in yellow requires board involvement, and us finalizing those dates when board members would need to be available. And we have in here some tentative dates based on our availability and our schedules, but we would need to finalize those dates as well. So we propose, as of right now, February 13th being the screening of applicants by the board. And so this is where we would actually meet with you and we would do that initial screening of applicants. And then February 25th and 27th, we would have initial interviews by the board, and that will be your first opportunity to actually meet with the selected candidates that we've screened and interview those candidates. And then we would go on to training advisory committees. And Tony, do you want to talk a little bit about advisory committees?
Sure. The last searches that you had, we had 2 advisory committees. Advisory committees are usually made up of teachers, parents, students, community members, administrators, and it gives a representation of the community and a little bit of a say. The online survey is a way to get community input at the beginning so that everybody has this, can share some input, and then the advisory committee is a way that you can have stakeholders, representative of different groups, participate in the process. We always recommend 2. Then you have 2 committees, you get 2 different perspectives. The committees are always separated, so they do their They write their own questions, they do the interviews themselves, and then they'll present feedback back to the board on an evening after they do the interviews, so that you'll get individual feedback as well as group feedback from the committees.
Really important, anyone selected for advisory committees has to be available for both the training and the interviews. If they don't attend the training, they're not able to participate in interviews, because we do go over some legal information that's required for them in order to participate in interviews. Also, a really important part of the process is that you'll hear directly from each member of the advisory committees. So we don't have one spokesperson from the advisory committee report back to the board. We actually have each member of the advisory committee report back to the board on their thoughts from the interviews, which is a nice part of the process. Following that, we move on to final interviews. Tentatively, we have that scheduled for March 18th or 19th. We'll send you this electronically as well. We have just a sample interview schedule for this district from 2022, and then a sample from another district that we use, just so you can kind of see the flow of things, what we've done in the past. And we'll talk more as we get later in the process about what that final interview schedule would look like. Sometimes you have the individual do the final interview with the board, but also there's a community presentation. Sometimes that involves a tour of the school, and so that's really for the board to decide what should that final interview look like. And so as we get later in the process, we would decide what that final interview would look like. And the goal would be to appoint the new superintendent by April for a July 1 start date. So lots of activities. It is a whirlwind, but our goal is to make the process as streamlined for you as possible, to manage the logistics of the process, the facilitation of the process, so that you can stay focused on selecting the top candidate. Are there any questions?
I've been through this, so.
A couple times.
I've been through it once.
So we did have 2 advisory committees the last time. I thought it went well. A lot of community involvement.
Right.
At that time, I was actually on one of the advisory committees.
I was on
So
the
I know what it's
Dan.
like to be on the.
Yeah, I was on the one for Dan Ward, so.
We're good.
Your opinion,
No questions coming on.
what do you feel, I know what we did the last time, but what do you feel overall has the most impact? Maybe one or both of a survey versus, bringing the community in to discuss it, maybe in the auditorium or something like that. Because this community,
Been through it a million times.
they've been through it a lot, and, I think they have a lot of good opinions and a lot of good insights. So what do you feel would be more beneficial at this point?
I think in the beginning, when you're trying to get the feedback on the characteristics, I think the survey gives you a lot more comprehensive information because people are doing it individually. You tend to hear from more people when you do the survey rather than just a few voices necessarily, whoever's showing up for the forum. So we tend to get, I think, more responses through a survey, and then we get a chance to actually analyze the survey. So I think that's the nice piece of the survey is we get to take a look at who's responding to the survey. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we're able to break down?
With all the questions and the characteristics, and there's open-ended questions in it as well. We'll break it down by teaching staff, by community members with children in the district, community members without children in the district, so that you can have a breakdown of all, how each group is also answering the questions. And it's not, it's great perception data. It'll tell you what's on everybody's mind for it. We can get you a sample survey. Tomorrow I can send you a sample survey. We've kind of enhanced it over time, so we have a more extensive list of characteristics. We ask how long they've been in the district, types of leaders that they're looking for too. So it's a good comprehensive way to get some data. And then everybody has an opportunity to fill it out. You'll send it out through your social media electronically. It's done in SurveyMonkey. We'll do some hard copies of it also that you can have in the district so people can come in and fill it out. And then we enter that into the computer system, into SurveyMonkey as well, so that if there are people that don't use technology but want an opportunity to do a paper copy, they can do that as well.
Awesome, thank you very much.
And I think we did a community forum here.
Yeah.
Was it for the last search, or was it, I'm trying to think what it was?
Yeah, I think we did it when Dan left.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we did both.
You did.
Yeah, and at the time too, that was still a lot of the merger was being contemplated too. So and I think there was turnout for that.
There was.
We've done community forums when things are quiet. Sometimes you don't get the turnout that you anticipate on the forum.
Okay, cool, thank you.
But both are an option.
And when we send you the sample survey, we can change any of the questions. So if there are things that, that you like, that you don't like, that you want changed, that you want added, we can always adjust.
Okay, so what are your answers?
Anybody else have a question at all, or?
No, we just need to discuss it, I think.
Okay.
Make a decision.
Okay, great.
Okay,
You guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The next person gets to remove the high-vis sticky note for their name tag. That comes with the job. I don't want to change.
Style. It's gonna make it popular with students.
It box.
It does.
Your standout right there.
There you go.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is filling vacant board seat. Taylor resigned, we all know, and so now we need to take some steps to fill that. So we could go one of three ways. One is to have a special election. Two is to just basically ask for applicants and hold interviews. And three, which we've just done recently, is to go back to the last vote and to take a look at that voting and to decide which person from there, or even a couple people to bring in to interview on that and to ask if there's interest. I have my own ideas, but I would love to hear everybody else's.
My opinion, since we're kind of mid-year here, and it's till, am I wrong, is it just till the end of the year?
It would be to fill Taylor's seat, so.
Just until
The next
The
one.
next
the next election?
Next election till June.
I mean, then I don't get, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to hold a special election right now.
Yeah.
And we had a gluttony of people who had a couple write-in votes. I think people were writing other people in.
Yep.
There's a lot of joke and
We
stuff
had
going
that.
on at the end of the ticket. So maybe the interviews make sense. Let people apply that are interested, and then take a look and maybe let them ask. I don't know, maybe not.
That is how I feel.
Yeah, I think we should solicit interest.
Yeah.
I agree with who's still interested.
I'd rather have somebody that has some genuine
Yeah,
interest.
that way we'll at least know who is interested, really.
Right, and then that person, of course, could, if we don't scare them away, they could run, in
Right.
May or June, whatever that is, so. So I think this is just a consensus at this point, and then we would have to vote on it next meeting, I would imagine. So is the consensus to put out some kind of communication asking for interest?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Anybody else have any comments or input on that? Sir?
I've dealt with it just a couple of times, and one was simply appointing the third, or the next highest vote getter, because they had expressed an interest that if a seat became available, they'd be willing to do it, so that was a real clean one to do in that particular case. And then the other was the interview process, where they canvassed the community through social media platforms and advertisements. Gave a very narrow window of opportunity for people to submit to the district clerk their interest, and then a subcommittee interviewed the candidates, and then they made a recommendation from there. It's important the person knows if it's something they want to consider, they have to run for re-election in May, which is a quick turnaround time from the time you board approved them in, say, November or December, to getting on and then wanting to keep it. They have to obviously then run again in May, so.
So there's 6 of us. Tim, and you're a big policy guy, so you may know the answer to this, but do we have to fill this board seat now, or can we wait until the next election?
You're supposed to,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, I think we're supposed
we waited a half a year before. But are you supposed to? I don't think so. I think you're supposed to.
to. Yeah, I think we should go
To
ahead.
deal with it after the
Okay.
vacancy.
all right, so can we put something out, social media, and maybe to the newspaper, if anybody still reads that? And what, how long do you feel we should give people to apply for this?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Then we'll know what we have and how we have to proceed.
Yeah, if we don't get anything in 2 weeks, we know that there's,
Then, then we can just.
There's no way-
Then we can just start contacting people that were on the list and see if they.
Yeah, then we'll move to
we'll
the
just go
room.
down to the diner and grab somebody.
By not filling it, it does make it a little trickier if you're having a night where you might be, because of personal schedules and things, and you don't have a quorum because of, life happens for everybody, right? And if you shy already one member, then you have an issue where some people are out of town or whatever, you put yourself in a situation when you only meet once a month to get some critical stuff approved, of being shy what you need to get a vote.
And you know what, and I'm sure there's gonna come a time where it's 3 and 3, for and against, so you kind of need that stuff first.
Yep.
All right, anybody have anything else on that?
So do we need an official resolution at the next meeting?
We get fired.
Unless,
I don't know that we.
do we need a resolution?
vote?
Or
I do not.
we can just do it, I think.
No, yeah.
Let's just do it.
And if you have people meet, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, go ahead.
I just want to make sure you can do this very efficiently between now and your next meeting in November. If we jump on the posting, you start to get those names in, say it's 3 people, they're met with, you make your decision based on that, and they can be sworn in and voted on right there and sit right at the table that night, just like a reorg meeting would when somebody gets elected in May. They get sworn in, they sit down, and they start doing business right away.
Okay.
Sounds
Okay, excellent. We do have a thank you from the Fort Edward Recreation Department. Of course.
For the record, that's really just informational. I just didn't have another place to put it.
The thank you?
Yes.
Oh.
It's just a thank you letter from James Donahue and the Fort Edward Recreation for our collaboration with them over the summer.
Oh.
But in order to get it to you guys, I just put it on a bulleted item.
Okay. Well, James,
You're welcome.
thank you very much for all you do, and you're very welcome. He certainly does a lot. Okay, reports. Let's go right into Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee. And Chris, would you care to?
Yes, so we actually got tonight, and one of the items we talked about is this proposal to address one of our first strategic changes to our school.
sir.
So if you guys don't mind just looking along as I kind of spotlight. This is the crisis that we're kind of working with right now is we do not have the proper transportation. And as I am the supervisor right now of transportation, it pulls a lot of my time and energy away out of my day-to-day business job. And also Steve and a few of his own staff are pulled away from buildings and grounds. So what we're doing is we're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. So keeping a program that should be a high level, sort of a mediocrity, we want to kind of look to see if we can cast for a full-time head bus driver who would be a supervisory role, who would actually take over a lot of the driving responsibilities that are becoming requesting of people that are part-timers that we got to keep under 29 hours. And many of our staff, our bus drivers, are retired of age. So this will allow us to, again, find the right candidate. Again, according to our committee before we met, we were talking about making sure we make this attractive enough to get the right candidate. We also had a compliance issue this last summer where we actually lost, we were fined $25,000 from the DMV because we've had 20 violations from past paperwork. And this is stuff that I inherited, so there's bad physicals. So this is a way that we can actually make sure we're high level, again, not having paperwork problems. We would have, again, just making sure one of our long-term goals I know in the community is to reestablish the pre-K through 3 transportation route. This would be a way to be forward thinking of how to do that. Because right now, not only the lack of transportation vehicles, we do not have staffing to even meet the demands of just special ed needs that we have here in the district or out of district students. Again, the cost analysis was basically just taking 2 part-time bus drivers, giving kind of an estimated salary. This would be a civil service position. We're also going to explore a little further of how to make that work. But this was mostly a discussion item that we just need you guys' blessing to go forward in trying to cast for a head bus driver, full-time position with benefits, so that we can actually not keep grabbing from other departments, and we can actually make our transportation what it should be, which is exceptional, because that's what we want to make sure our whole entire school is.
So just to add a little bit to what Chris is saying, so this would actually serve 2 purposes. One is the transportation aspect, making sure that, you know, we're compliant, we have enough people, and things are getting done efficiently and effectively. Another thing is Steve's guys and Steve get pulled so much for this that Steve's worked and his guys have worked extremely hard to bring this up. By getting pulled constantly, you know, we feel that this would maybe lead to not degradation, but, you know, instead of stellar, less than stellar, just because of the manpower. So this not only solves our transportation issue, it helps with buildings and grounds for Steve and his crew to really keep up with everything that needs to be kept up with. You know, we have what's going on now with building and grounds. You couple that into the capital project, we're gonna need those people to not only facilitate some of that, but to maintain that. So if we keep pulling people from building and grounds, there's less and less time and people and resources to put the needs into the building and grounds crews and their activities. So it does serve 2 purposes by doing this.
Is this a 12-month position or 10-month?
We are looking at 12 months.
And it's like full-time hours?
It would be full-time hours.
It seems like the hourly rate would be less than what we pay the bus drivers. The estimated salary is 38 grand.
Correct, those numbers were just me picking numbers out of the sky.
They're not.
That's all service we have.
That's quite a bit out of the range we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, but no real numbers, we don't have any idea, if that's something you guys are gonna.
I'm just trying to save some money.
Are these reimbursable funds if we do the
It would not be.
transportation? They're not.
No.
No, not for.
However, transportation is a, transportation is a what's called revenue aid. So we do get monies based on transportation. So when you do drive and routes are attached, we do get monies back in that. So not technically this position, but because they will be driving, there will be monies that will come back to our coffers based on this role.
Okay.
So it's the same thing that we are doing with our part-time drivers. So as they go out and do their routes, if it's a special education student, and that is again where we generate those revenue aids, it still will be connected to some of these runs.
Okay.
Is this position listed in civil services? Do you have to have a test?
What I'm understanding is there is a test involved. Yeah.
I asked them to call civil service and see if they will.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that,
Yeah, we may be
they're
able
very
to
good about
get
waiving
around
tests
that.
nowadays, so you never know.
We can do provisional as long as I take it.
Yeah.
In
Dan
time
does the
frame.
civil service does the numbers, that's what jobs, like prison guards, if you apply for it, you can get sometimes.
For nothing, I'm looking at
Chris
the
is gonna check on
authority
that.
manual from
You're gonna
civil
check on that,
service, and it
Chris?
looks like it's not
Well,
competitive.
You're gonna check with civil
Does
service?
not fit
That's
it.
our next step.
It doesn't even, their appointing authority manual for drivers doesn't
That's the one
say head anywhere, school bus drivers.
Right, that's why I'm
but
saying-
These all fall under non-competitive.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
which
it's,
generally
because
is-
you're doing with DOT files, it's gonna have to be competitive.
Competitive.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna have to be, I believe,
Oh, I thought it would
positive.
be non-competitive.
I think you're gonna have to come off the list, it's almost like a supervisor position. But, I mean, you can title it whatever you want.
I don't know.
Well,
We have to do better now.
Just something to
Let's
look
look into it.
yeah. But in any case, we need it, and I think it'll be benefit, you know, the kids, obviously, and, you know, the internal of the school.
Yep.
In the current transportation reserve of 703,
Yes.
do we have a regular funding of this reserve?
We did put some, because we had extra fund balance.
That's how it became 700,000?
We did start with, I believe it was 400,000. Keep in mind, this is also including the bus we purchased, which we have not yet paid for. So that will take another probably 100 and.
I'm just kind of looking for a history of how it got to 703. Seems like a lot.
It is a lot, but we also know that in order to get our future where we want it to be, we need to put some into that.
Well, I get that, but I'm like, is this something that we're going to be able to, if we get back on, refund? If we use some, you know, if we use 276 of that?
Well, you get back 90% of that over 5 years.
You do, okay.
So that's the beautiful thing with that transportation reserve, is the more money you put into the reserve and then you put it into vehicles that you will get back in a 5-year span, you will get 90% of that money back.
Perfect.
If you're looking at a
We're on
28,
camera, I just want some explanation.
you're looking at a 28 passenger with a wheelchair lift?
Yes, actually, by exploring the option, we definitely needed to increase the transportation needs for special ed. So with that lift bus, what we've been seeing is we wanted to sort of make sure we had enough seating available for students. So in talking with Leonard Bus, they actually can take a C-type chassis and shrink it down to a 28 passenger, which then they can include the lift, just like we have with our current vehicle, but it's actually something Leonard would provide us, not a third vendor. So this felt like it was a better option, and that is their quote that they've given us. So we kind of locked in that price as a letter of intent to buy, obviously with voter approval and board approval. But that's where we kind of have all the stuff that we currently have on the A-bus that we are under lease, that's up in the spring. This will allow us almost that same bus concept, except for it will be larger, and it actually would be something Leonard provides us directly, not something that would be a third vendor.
Did they give you an availability?
It would be kind of like what we're doing now, where we bought the one in the spring, and it should be coming in the spring, is about a year. So the good part is, because we have a lease with them, we can keep that lease until the bus transfer.
Yeah, they're already about a year and a half at least, just to warn you. So if you order something, don't expect it. And anything smaller than a full-size bus, they're canceling all the orders for the past 3 years. So we've lost 6 buses in our district, everything in the small buses.
The good part is, because we've already signed up for them, and we have it kind of, we have the bus ready for Fort Edward. Granted, it's the time frame that's out of our control,
Right.
but they have kind of, again, did that promissory that we will have that bus once it's available. So again, trying to do our due diligence with some things that are out of our control. But also notice that in the purchasing of vehicles in our proposition plan, we would like to look at reestablishing more vans. We have November the 1st, we're losing one of our vans that's going to be off the road. We're hoping to borrow a van from Glens Falls. That's currently what we're looking at, kind of doing a borrow like we did a couple of years ago. But this plan would allow us to not only reestablish the van we just are losing, but we do put about 85 to 90,000 miles on vans each year. This will be a way that we can now annualize, kind of put at least a van purchase every year to offset vans that might not make it. Because once you hit like 100,000 miles, it becomes hard to keep them on the road.
Chris, if the time frame, I was kind of saying, they tell you a year, but then it gets out to a year and a half, 2 years.
Yep.
Maybe we should look into the option, instead of just extending the lease, maybe we should look into the option of buying out the lease.
The residual won't be much.
Yep, actually what happens with the current state is they will let us keep the lease. We just have to keep the maintenance. It's no cost to us, so we don't actually have any off-put for us financially.
Okay.
We just have to make sure we keep the maintenance. And
Because it's not coming in?
Correct, because they're actually the ones promising us a bus.
Okay.
So the time frame is on them, and that's why going through this lease option of we're gonna buy a vehicle, they let us keep this lease vehicle without any monetary contractual, and ends up being just on maintenance and keeping it on the road, and keeping obviously insurance and all of that, making it clean. But yeah, that's what we're currently on as of right now.
All right.
Yep. Good questions, thank you.
Anybody else? Ken? You got your special glasses on.
Welcome to the club.
I just went with the bifold.
It's overrated.
Had to go with the bifold.
That's my next step.
It's a great start, believe me. Superintendent report.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. It also, October is Board of Education Member Recognition Month, and I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for your service. You know, the pay raises you get every year for these jobs I know are good, but a little pat on the back goes a long way besides the pay that you get for the job. So it's not an easy job. There's a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes into this, a lot of conversations, even when you're in the grocery store and people don't really appreciate what goes into serving in the role. Thank you for your willingness to do so. You know, public schools are founded on that concept, and really thank you, because I know it's not easy for any of you to serve in these roles, but it is appreciated. A few items for you this evening that I'll cover. First is the, you may have seen it in some of your school board publications and things that have come your way, but the regionalization initiative that's been implemented by the state of New York, I felt I needed to take just a couple of minutes and share with you some nuts and bolts about what this is. So on September 9th, the Board of Regents adopted a regulation regarding regionalization, or at least a regionalization study in the state of New York, with its intent to establish a strategic approach to address educational disparities, fiscal constraints, and operational inefficiencies across school districts in the state of New York. And they cite three very specific things as the reason, the challenges that are in front of schools: student access to high-quality educational opportunities, fiscal constraints, and the upcoming graduation measures initiatives that the state is looking at. The traditional, I shouldn't say traditional, the current and long-standing Regents Diploma with advanced distinction, that's all under significant review now, and the state is looking to create, they're very close to being able to unveil some of this, different pathways for kids to get to a high school diploma, where we all are high school students, we're all going to end up with one Fort Edward diploma, not like it currently is, where you have a diploma or a diploma with advanced designation. They want to come up with one diploma with multiple different ways for you to get there. It's not a bad concept. There's just a lot of work on how we shift, how we do business in order to get there. Your CTE kids, your vocational kids, kids that do a lot of community service and are really out in the community but don't take as high-level classes. There's lots of reasons that you can give somebody credit for the work that they do that don't have to come from a very traditional model of sitting for an exam and taking a Regents exam. So there's some real possibilities for it. And then your diploma, if you are a high-flying student with all these advanced courses and things, you'll get endorsements on your diploma that indicate that you have taken some of these courses and you've earned these higher or different distinctions. This graduation initiative, plus the financial piece of districts and the interest of the state in wanting to reconfigure the formula of how they finance public schools, and the fact that merger studies and/or votes have been unsuccessful across the state of New York for generations, they've decided that maybe a better approach is to do a regionalization study, which is going to look like this. The BOCES, our BOCES, Dr. Parker, has 31 component districts. Each one of us, by November 1st, have to complete a assessment tool of all of our student data, all of our financial data. A lot of it's pre-populated with things that we enter every year through our audit reports, through our finances, through our testing scores. But then there's a whole other series of pages where we get to tailor the information more anecdotally. What are the strengths of Fort Edward? What are our weaknesses? What do we think we do well? What do we need help with? We'll fill this all out. It's going to be about 60 pages long when it's all said and done. We submit it to Dr. Parker. She gets 31 of these. She'll have a subcommittee who starts to draw this information and look for commonalities. The region as a whole has these strengths. Like this BOCES region has these strengths. These are our weaknesses. These are how we think that maybe learning to collaborate without merging is going to be an effective way for, say, somebody like Fort Edward who wants to offer high-level physics courses, but it doesn't financially make sense to pay for one full-time teacher for 2 kids to take physics. Maybe we can come up with a regionalization approach to where we can offer physics through this regionalization effort with other districts. So the assessment tool has to be done by November 1st. We were going to get this done on October 24th. Ours is almost done, but we're going to have a final meeting on the 24th to finish filling it out. We'll submit it. From there, it gets submitted. Dr. Parker has to then, she has until April to create a rough draft of what she believes is a summary of all these school districts' pieces of information. And every BOCES in the state is doing this at the time. And then from there, over the next year, there'll be meetings to really start to pinpoint what can we realistically start to do regionally, still have our independent school districts, still run our systems the way we want, but maybe there's a way to do some shared services that is realistic and then build from there. The concept is good. There have always been, and I've been doing this a while, efforts for neighboring districts to collaborate and do things with each other. We do it all the time with transportation. Hey, you're running right past here, can you grab our kids and then we'll bring them home or we'll do it tomorrow. Those kinds of things happen all the time, but when you start to get into other more significant, like academic programming pieces, your school calendars don't always jive. We're open and our neighbors might be closed, is always an issue. Collective bargaining agreements are always a barrier because everybody has in their collective bargaining agreement that if you're offering a course and one of our teachers are not teaching it, then you need to negotiate that in your contracts that you're going to outsource it. It's not impossible, but I'm just being realistic about what the barriers are. And then district and community cultures. As though we all are in the same region and we all have a lot of the same common values, we all know that the difference between one district and the other on what are important to you and what's important to the next district could be completely different on certain topics. And so you have to talk through these things. And so I think that one of the barriers the state is going to have to address is opening up collective bargaining agreements to make this more realistic. And we're going to have to be told that you're going to have to do this, because a lot of people aren't going to want to willingly sit down and renegotiate contracts. And they are going to have to dictate, this is the state calendar for school districts. Otherwise,
That would help.
you know, our Easter, spring recess is not going to be the same as a district closer to Albany that might be off by 1 week. And I see it all the time, you've all seen it. Your own kids might have a different, you know, schedule, and your wives and husbands may work in districts, have different calendars, and we're all in the same business. So I share this with you because you're going to be hearing more and more information about this, and I wanted to lay the template of what the intent is. And I think it has a lot of potential, but there are some things that definitely need to be ironed out. Any questions or thoughts on that at this point? I will certainly keep you posted as we go through that.
I would just mention that graduation thing.
Yep.
It's called the Blue Ribbon Commission.
Mhm.
And finding, study, et cetera. So if you hear things about the Blue Ribbon Commission, that's that graduation thing.
Yes.
I went to like a listening session that BOCES did, and I don't know what else I did.
Like, so
Survey or
that-
something.
You'll see it, right, the title.
It's a good,
is
it's a
Blue
good
Ribbon.
idea.
You like
It's just
it?
like, it's gonna take funding to get through, and that's not really in the cards probably, so, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Right. Financing, state financing, and wanting to redistribute how state aid is issued to public schools is driving this regionalization.
Yeah.
Because the current model only works for a small population of public schools currently in the state of New York.
Washington County's interest is
So-
62 miles long with only, you know, with these tiny schools.
Yeah.
They're so far apart from each other.
Yep. We have a branding committee. Trampoline was a company that Rich had set up. It helped with the capital project promotions and things like that. They are a branding, public relations, your image type company. We've met with them on September 24th. It's simply about taking your logos and your sayings and things that you use in your district and how to really use them the most effectively. If you have some logos that you'd like to maybe tweak, that doesn't change the integrity of what your mascot is, but maybe give it a little different look. We've met on the 24th, we meet again on the 22nd. They also give us ideas on how to do things with our facilities that are just great community spirit, school spirit type things, like where you know, all these vinyl wraps that you can get on everything now. And it really is a good idea to get a professional opinion. I've been through it in a previous district, and we really got some great ideas. And even the semi-viewable stuff that you put on your windows that make it so they can't see in, but you can see out, but it's got your school logo built into it. I mean, those kinds of graphics are phenomenal and not that expensive. This committee of a few members of the district cross-section of some coaches and some teachers, some long-standing members of the community that work here, are sitting with me and Ryan Herman, who oversees our public information and our website and things. We're just going to work with Trampoline and see what they've got for us and see if they've got some things that help us promote better than what we currently are doing. And you know, I'm always looking for new ideas. And let's face it, you know, your image and the things you put out to your public are very powerful. And I think this could bring us a real bang for our buck.
Do we have a contract with them?
What's that?
Do we have a contract with them?
Yes.
How long?
It's just for this school year, and it came out, I believe, wasn't it, with the capital project?
And it's all embedded within the capital project.
Well, how'd we come about going with them? I'm just wondering. Like, because I know a lot of other schools in this area use Norman.
What's that?
A lot of schools in this area use Norman. I'm just wondering where did Trampoline come from?
I think they bid.
They bid, and they brought them in to do like an interview, and they did like a proposal of what they're gonna present, and
Did we look into, like,
I know they looked into BOCES.
Like reach, like how many people, like the area influence, things like that.
I wasn't a part
As a-
of
as a
the
company?
selection, but I know there was
Yes, a
four. there were
local
four
big
bids.
marketing company, I'm saying,
They actually have quite the big.
They're
True
national.
does.
but they're international, but talk about locally. Like
Oh,
how
they're
much of a
Saratoga.
difference is it gonna make compared
They're
to
actually
a big
in
local
Huntsville.
company that
They're
can put out a
right across from
Facebook
Trampoline is
thing
down.
to this
Mhm.
community,
They're-
5,000
yeah, they
replies.
Are right over, where Flight used to be. They're right in that office,
Oh, okay.
right across from.
Yeah, they were in
251.
Saratoga.
You know, I'm not, I mean, I understand who they are, I'm wondering about,
The guy who runs the program.
do they have, I'm talking about local reach, they have like social media presence in our areas. Ways for us to get out what he's saying, get it out to
Well,
this
I know
areas
your lead
itself.
designer working with us is a Fort Edward graduate.
Yeah,
What's his name?
Don't know that off the top of my head.
young guy.
Of Hendricks.
That's what it
Oh, Rob Hendricks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he was
I'm friends with his
our,
parents, I know him.
He and Amanda McGee was one of the owners for,
And they work local?
yeah,
Yeah, they're right
Okay,
across.
so they're already local.
yeah, they're right.
They're
there.
in Glens
Yeah.
Falls.
Answered my question. I was wondering if this was like a national thing
No,
where they
no,
come in
no,
and give
they're a
local.
local company that has a national reach. So they've won several awards.
Right, but they're local to the community too, and we have local people, they know the community, they know how we're going, that's
Yeah,
basically, and they'll know how to reach people on this.
yeah, they're not, it's not Billy Bob's.
Just hoping it wasn't people from there, that's all.
No, they're local.
As I mentioned, we meet again on October 22nd, and they're going to have some drafts of different things that we can take a look at. They did a nice job of kind of canvassing the group of what are some things that we might be looking for. And we'll go from there, and I'll report back on that
Interesting. I don't know what they were.
as we go. And a couple of these items we talked about already. The last one, I spoke to the faculty and staff on Friday. We had a training day for everybody. And I talked about three things that, from a human resource perspective, recognition, remediation, and removal. I'm not going to go through my whole speech, but the first two are the most important. Recognizing faculty and staff who do a great job. And we can do that in a multitude of ways. It's important to me. It can be very informal and it can be very formal. I think a combination of both make employees who are doing a great job feel valued and appreciated, whether they hear it from their colleagues or whether they hear it from admin, whether they hear it from Board of Education. People always like to be told when they are recognized for doing a good job. And or if they have contributed something that's particularly special. And one of those items is years of service. And what I would like to do is bring to you folks for something in the spring that is a recognition, a cornerstone recognition night for years of service of employees here at Fort Edward, starting with those that have crossed the threshold of 5 years. People who came to Fort Edward, they got a job, they've stayed, and if you've been here 5 years, there's a good chance you're going to stay a while. And then every 5 years, when you cross a milestone of every 5 years, we recognize 10-year employees, 15-year, 20, on up, to somebody who's in the district that started their 50th year with the school district this year. You know, and he's probably retired from here 3 times, but he still works for us, currently driving a school bus.
He certainly needs to be recognized.
And so the cornerstone kind of ties in with our 100-year celebration. We've got a cornerstone on this building that says 1924. So let's take the name, the cornerstone, and give out some things in the spring. We get a little closer to the end of the year, and we'll have a little night where we can just, with your presence, have the employees come here, whether it's tied in with something that they might be coming here for anyways. Maybe we do it on a board meeting night as we get near the end of the year, and recognize those employees that have put the time in and continue to put the time in here. And that's just a small piece of the puzzle of what we want to do to really recognize those that do great work. Because we're also going to recognize those that, yeah, they're doing great work, but they need some professional development, they need some help, they need some remediation to become an excellent employee that we want in all aspects of their job. So those two things go hand in hand. If you're an employee that is doing a great job, you're being told you're doing a great job, and you're an employee that is maybe struggling a little bit, but we're gonna give you all the resources to be successful as possible, then number 3, removal rarely, if ever, needs to happen. But it will, if it doesn't get better.
Yeah. You know, sometimes positive reinforcement with adults works too.
Oh,
And that's exactly my point.
it certainly does.
That's exactly my point.
At the bank, we have a thing, we have a kudos corner where they can like write in, and it goes across the screen in our cafe. Like, you give shout outs to whoever, like, the retail lending department did a great job here or there. But you could have that like scrolling across whatever screen of people just writing in of such and such did a great job, and
Yep.
just, you know, giving little kudos to the staff.
On front screen.
You could have it run across
I was
whatever,
gonna
like the
say, yeah,
TV.
even like the way they do the birthdays out
Yeah, oh my
front.
gosh, even the
Mix in a
screen
little,
outside
mix
or
in
the
a,
screen
mix in a
inside.
little,
The TV screen inside.
yeah,
I mean,
Steve,
we love everything
Steve,
here.
congratulations to Steve on his, on 10 years of service, stuff or whatever.
I think you do a dinner.
It's fun stuff to
though.
do, people
If
ride
you're
by,
gonna
they
do a night,
hear Steve and they've
do a
never
dinner.
heard his name before, but it's awesome.
We're gonna do it right, because I do think it's important, and whether, you know, whoever's sitting here, it becomes a tradition, that in the spring, the Cornerstone Award recognition, it's not really an award, but it kinda is, the recognition, the Cornerstone Recognition Night, where your employees are honored for their years of service, is a very strong, powerful tradition.
We need that.
And we go from there.
Yeah, I
Everybody
think that
does.
would be really
And,
nice.
you know,
We need a lot. And we can-
I think it
appreciate
was
that,
well
I
received when I
appreciate that
talked
you're
about it, and
starting to tackle stuff already, it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
so that's all I have that I'll share tonight. In the interest of moving us forward.
Thank you, sir. Well, back to Chris. Business office report.
So
Thanks,
part
Chris.
two. You're welcome. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to our Fort Edward Business Office. I can't do anything without them, so Ron Black and Michelle Sherwood, thank you so much on a successful audit, and our state aid forms have been submitted, so we are significantly ahead of the game. Actually, almost 2 years. This is the first time that our audit is actually legitimately on time, so I have to give a shout out to the wonderful people that work with me. Can't do it without them. Also, I want you guys to know that on Thursday, New York Life Insurance will be having a Zoom meeting here. So those who have signed up as full-time staff can at least listen to their sales pitch. It does sound really good. Again, it's guaranteed life insurance, so they do not need any medical reports. They don't need any blood sampling. And it really is like a once-in-a-lifetime. I actually did my own documentation today. He gave me a call and we went through the information, so I kind of was the guinea pig to go through this process, but it does sound really good, and we're glad to at least offer this to our staff. Delta Dental will be our full-time insurance for dental coverage. That change will happen on January the 1st. So we are now getting the information from staff to see what plans they're looking to either change or keep that they currently have as the Anthem plans. They're going to transfer over to Delta. And again, I'm starting the budget process, which is fun, and we're charting meetings with staff and talking with them. We have, again, the strategic financial piece of it will be very helpful. So that's where we are. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, and moving right along, the building principal report. Ms. Caruso?
Great, I
Take it
am going
away.
to be super short and sweet. Our attendance rate from the first day of school till this afternoon, 93.47% attendance. So that's great.
Wow.
Yeah. Our 11th and 9th graders are years in need of improvement there, 89% and 90% respectively. And our second graders and 10th graders, 96% attendance. So yeah, overall, really pleased with the attendance, and now we've got a couple of grades that we want to move that needle on a little
So
bit.
you really don't have anything that's under 9 out of 10 kids are here every day.
Yeah,
It's a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah.
This is the best it's been in a long time.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Yeah, I just, and can seem happy coming to school, which I love. The only other piece of information I have to share is our fall sports update. Modified softball, under Coach Jody Ann Brewer, we had 8 players, 5 wins, 4 losses. JV volleyball, under Coach Amelia Taylor, 11 players, they're at 500 right now. Varsity volleyball, under Coach Christina Durkee, 12 players, 9 wins and 3 losses.
Always a good year with her.
JV football, under Coach Doug Johnson, with 8 players, 3 wins, 1 loss. Modified football, under Coach Jeff Durkee, we've got 5 players, 1 win, 1 loss. Modified soccer, we're combined with Argyle. We have 2 players, and they've got 5 wins, 0 losses. Varsity golf, under Coach John Boucher, we've got 6 golfers, 3 wins and 6 losses. And our unified bocce, under coaches Pete Prindle and Kylie Wested, we've got 10 participants in unified bocce, 2 wins and 0 losses. Yeah, so we're doing really well. The seasons are not over yet, but Kate wanted to make sure that, I updated everybody with the numbers and especially the numbers of players. Got quite a few sports participating.
Calvin Boucher's off to the sectionals.
Sectionals, yeah.
Very surprised we had 3 wins in golf already. That's a super young group.
Yeah, very young group.
And not very experienced.
No, they're all new.
Yeah. And Cal is our first golfer to qualify for sectionals, and John told me, I want to say it's at least 8 or 9 years since we've had somebody qualify for sectionals. It might even be longer.
Super kids. All of them.
That's what I've got for you tonight.
Awesome, thank you very much. All right, people services report.
I will be short as well. At our PPS office, we finished our final intake meetings. So we did have about 10 students move into district with IEPs. So, we meet on them to discuss programming and making sure that we're supporting their needs as they are coming to our district. So we finished up those meetings earlier this month. And then we are now beginning to schedule our annual meetings for 504 plans. So for 504s, you have to meet at least once a year. So we've decided to meet in the fall, and then that way they will not coincide with our annual reviews for our IEPs in the spring. So we're busy scheduling those, and that's all I have.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Mr. Neron?
Hi, everybody. Been busy with quite a bit going on in the school. I'm working quite a bit with Tetra Tech, Pam Hamill, John Farback, for the HAVC. We've made some good grounds, good things going on. Kind of working with John and trying to push forward for the following years. So I've been doing a lot of work with Tetra Tech on that. They're talking about the air conditioning in the gym. I'm trying to push for. They're going to have new mats, new flooring, everything in the gym, AC in the gym. So I'm trying to work with them to get new doors, entrance doors. If you got the floor all done, looking spectacular, new padding, and getting all that done and sanded and getting that all done. I says we need to replace the doors entering into the gym. They are getting really beat up. It would be nice to have the entrance nice. So I'm trying to squeeze where we can. I've entrance doors on the outside, some don't need to be replaced. We could take some of the money from.
You're talking about like you just take some of the money from that and fix all the internal doors, like even the ones from the hallway?
Well, no.
You're talking about just the 2 outside?
Yeah, we try not to bite the whole elephant up, but trying to get.
Well, I wasn't sure because those are old wood ones and the other ones are what, metal?
Yeah, in the hallways, but I was trying to get everything right with that. So I went around, did all the surveys on all the doors and everything, and exactly where we are. Some of them don't get used like the other ones, and then there's that type of thing. So anyway, a lot of my time's trying to get eaten up with this capital project and try to get a handle on it. and get the biggest bang for the buck to get everything right. And so I'm doing that. Did a lot of us, we're doing some, working with Chris on this, we're doing some assembly on picnic tables and things. A lot of the picnic tables out there, if you look at them, you can't set a drink on them when the boards are going like this and stuff. So we're taking and we've purchased some tables, assembled some stuff. They're nice, they're plastic, metal. They're really nice, and they really look good out there. So we're doing a lot of that. We're working on we had the boilers serviced and everything, had that done. So I'm working with Trojan and making sure that we're staying up, because they are truly a sophisticated piece of equipment. I've been doing a lot of working on them and stuff like that, and I've learned a lot from Trojan on them. Doing some fixing on some roof fans that haven't been working in years, trying to bite them off as we go. And just busy every day with all the issues in the school, all the day-to-day things that happen in the school that need attention. So that's been rough, but I really appreciate Chris's help and Ben's help on a lot of different issues with the transportation thing and trying to get a hold of this thing, because that has been really rough for me and my helper, who is also driving. That I'm only getting roughly right now somewhere around 10 hours a week that he's able to give me a hand, because he's only a 29-hour employee. And so, you know, that's making it rough to try to get done what I want to get done.
Steve, how's the attendance of your employees? Do you run into problems with having short staff at all? I mean, if somebody's out, you can't get things done. Are you at minimum level? First of all, would you say bare minimum level staffing?
No.
You're not?
No.
You have positions that you can fill?
Thanks to what Chris has helped out with budget-wise and everything to get, working with Chris on this, and of course back working with Rich DeMalley on the two things I've got set up now where I'm full staff. Full staff across.
So basically just time efficiency and getting out of the busing business is what's gonna make your department more efficient?
Well, yeah, because when I say full staff, I talk about my cleaning staff. For years, I don't classify the cleaning staff as my maintenance staff.
Right.
I have me and Sharky. Sharky has some knowledge on things. Between me and Mike, the 29-hour guy, and myself, that's where things are getting fixed, done. Give me a hand, you know, do this, do that. That's where things are happening as far as the maintenance goes. But I also have in place a couple of subs.
Okay.
So let's say I get somebody, I don't feel good, I'm not coming in, boom. I get the guy.
I guess that's what I was looking.
Yeah, and
if
so.
you had options to fill.
Yeah, so I'm able to take a sub, a True Blue sub that's just on call for me.
Okay.
And be able to bring him in just to cover that night, maybe for 4 hours. It ain't a full-time guy, but it's enough to get areas taken care of.
Now, I just kind of wonder what you do if you didn't.
Well, if I didn't, I talked to Rich way back, and my whole goal was to have a sub list to work off of, part-time guys or whatever, retired guys, whoever, just to be able to say, hey, can you help me out? Yeah, I'll come in, boom. And that way the whole school can stay at a level of cleanliness that we're looking for.
Well, thanks. It's something I wanted to figure out.
That's all I had.
I didn't understand how you got it done if you had any beliefs, call off. So, thanks.
All set, Steve?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, on the consent agenda, consent agenda. So we have 3 things to do. Approval of the previous board minutes, approval to treasurer reports, budget transfers, warrants, and claims, and approve the CSC CPSE recommendation. Need a motion to approve A, B, and C on it. Chris, you get a second. Ken, any discussion on any of these? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving to action. First thing is a donation from St. Joseph's Church. We'd like to accept a generous donation of backpacks filled with school supplies from St. Joseph's Church. Thank you very, very much. We all appreciate it, and I'm sure the kids appreciate it. Donation from Tri-County United Way. Accept a generous donation of 9 barbecue chicken dinners from Tri-County United Way. Didn't get any of that, but I'm sure it was somebody.
I didn't either.
Donation from Irving Tissue, who is always very giving. Accept the generous donation of 2 pallets of paper towels from Irving Tissue. Steve, that's right up your alley.
Yes, they came, dropped it off, we've got it in storage, we're utilizing them now, and it's fantastic. Also the facial tissue, we got the whole 2 pallets of facial tissue.
They've always been a wonderful,
And fabrics.
Varsity baseball merger. I'd like to approve the baseball merger for the varsity level between the Fort Edward School and Hartford School for the 2024-2025 school year. Could I get a motion to approve that? Oh, go ahead, slap me.
Sorry. At first I thought you were just reading and gonna group all of these together, but if you're gonna do them individually, then we have to motion for all those donations.
Well, okay, well, hold on a second then.
That was all?
And then the disposal of the chairs. Can I get a motion to approve A through E? Okay. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
It's a long day. All right, now we're moving to personnel. So this is actually something that
John, you've got a motion.
You gotta vote.
Who gave the
All in favor?
motion?
Well, everybody raise their hands at the
Yeah.
same
I
time.
know.
Let's give the motion to Sarah.
Sounds
We'll
good.
give it to Sarah, and then now you can take your vote.
All right. All
Who
in
was
favor?
your second, if we're saying Sarah motioned?
Oh,
Audrey.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for my mental slip there. Holy cow. Just pick one. All right, personnel. All appointments are subject to change, compensation proration pending emergency school closing, required reductions in force. All coaching appointments are made pending completion and verification of all required coaching credentials. The stipend per FETA contract commensurate with experience. No other salary or benefits. All coaching extracurricular appointments are subject to reduction in compensation proration pending final student enrollment numbers and pending the outcome of any potential mergers and emergency school closings. Everybody had a chance to look at all of these? I would like a motion to approve A through OO. Need a motion? Chris? Second. Tim? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Do we have a second public comment at all?
Not have any.
No? No?
No. Just here to listen, I like tonight.
Mrs. Smacko, did you have anything? No? Okay. We had planned on going into executive
Do we
session.
need to do that tonight?
We don't.
No, let's not do it tonight.
Unless, not.
I just took the red eye from Vegas.
All right. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Am I okay? Okay.
She'll tell you
Sarah,
now.
and the second is Ken, yes, you will. That's what I depend on. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
I'm gonna go see the kids.
Hey, Joss.